Hello there, my name's Sue Shardlight. I am the Developer Community Manager here at Redis. Thanks so much for joining us today. And sorry if you were here a couple of minutes ago. It has been 2 weeks since I was on this stream because last week, as Justin informed you, we were all in Austin, Texas, having our very important business meetings. And so I wasn't here last week. It's been 2 full weeks since I've done this stream and I completely forgot what I was doing and went live a bit too early. So you probably saw me sitting there for 7 seconds, just like looking around the room, not really knowing what was going on. So yeah, had to stop that, start again, but we're here now. We're ready to bring you all of the good questions from this week in Discord. Now, if you don't know what the heck this show is, we here in the Redis Developer Relations team manage a Discord server dedicated to all of you Redis fans. So anyone is free to join. All you have to do is make sure that you adhere to our code of conduct, which you will see when you join the server. And then you can come in and chat to us about all things Redis. And we get some really interesting questions from people in there, sometimes things that we haven't thought about. Because we are using Redis all the time, it's really easy for us to kind of sometimes forget what it's like to be a beginner, but also things that come naturally to us we don't necessarily think about too often. So it's really cool to see the questions that people bring to us. And so we thought we would create a weekly show where we showcase some of the questions that people have asked in Discord. So, you know, there might be someone else out there that was wondering the exact same thing. Or if you've thought about joining our Discord in the past, but wasn't really too sure what goes on in this very mysterious place, then this gives you a little bit of a taster as to what we discuss in there. So we've got 3 or 4 questions that we've handpicked from Discord this week that we are bringing to you. And the full gang is back this week. We're all fresh from Texas. We're all here this week. So this week I have got Savannah, Simon, and Justin with me from the DevRel team. I'm just going to bring them into the mix and say hello. So Justin's here, Simon is here, and Savannah is here. Hello, people.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Oh,
I'm so sorry I messed up. Somebody else needs to do this because I clearly can't be trusted. How are you all doing today?
2 thumbs up.
Yeah, all feeling nice and warm. Late September. Still got
It's starting to cool down, yeah. Oh, I wore another shirt that has a little bit of that moire effect, though.
Wow, you look like some sort of flying creature.
Savannah's a flying squirrel.
Yeah, we tried to see some bats in Austin, didn't we? We all
tried.
Up on the bridge.
We did see some. We didn't see them all like swarm away, but we could see some sort of like flitting about.
Yeah, so if anyone watching, if you all have like gone to Austin and seen the bats come out from under the bridge, please do let us know because we want to know what that was like because we didn't get to see that. Cool. Okay, so let's get into this then. I will share my screen. The first question. This person is trying to implement a ranking system by using Redis sorted set. On each score collected, planning to use the zadd command. What happens if zadd commands gets executed at the same time? Does Redis internally have resource locks on sorted sets, or is it handled in the zadd command, or do we need to manually implement locks? And Justin is going to talk us through the answer to that one.
Yes, this is a very, very good question. It's a very consistently asked question as far as like timing goes with Redis. The main thing to remember is that Redis is single threaded. So there's one transaction at any given time. But the thing with Redis is that all the commands go into a queue. Sorry, my cat's pushing up against my keyboard here. All the commands go into a queue, and then they are consecutively executed. So no 2 commands will happen at the exact same time. But sometimes commands will squeak in there before yours, and it might actually happen upon the same key. So if you want to increment your, say, key value by 1, somebody else could do the same thing right before you. And with normal client commands, you wouldn't know that. And so you could have unforeseen consequences, such as an inaccurate number that you would get back. That being said, there are a couple different ways to actually enforce atomicity with multiple commands, especially with the ZAD. Let's go back to this question real quick. So with this, what you'll want to do is a multi and exec if you want to actually execute multiple commands, one after another. And when you actually do that with the multi-exec command, let me share this, called transactions. With the command line interface, you start with the command multi, and then any following command after that is added to a queue, and it's all executed in one go. So you're never going to have commands between them. And that's actually really, really nice. And you do that a lot, actually, with client commands when you have to do multiple operations on keys or something like that. And here's an example of actually running that. So multi means I want to start a transaction. So all of these commands are going to actually happen consecutively. Then there's incr foo, incr bar, and then exec. And that basically says that incr foo and incr bar are going to happen one after another without interruption between anybody else. Now, this could actually create some problems because somebody could actually manipulate foo or bar while you're entering these commands right before exec. So what you can do is set up a watch. Now, what a watch does, let me scroll down here. Watch actually has Redis monitor the value of my key. And if it changes between multi and exec, it will cancel that transaction. So it's almost like a conditional transaction. If your variable or if your key changes, the key's value changes. So that actually protects you. And there's a couple of other ways also to preserve atomic operations. Another way is pipelining is similar, but basically, if you want to do things quickly, you can run this. It actually runs all the commands without actually requiring the server to send back a response after every single command. So you can do maybe 10 commands or 10,000 commands, and then it'll get 10,000 responses back. This is a way of doing things very quickly. What I really want to show you, though, is scripting with Lua. This allows you best of both worlds. This will allow you to manipulate keys within a script, and it will all be basically atomic operations. This script will pause everything on your Redis server except for when you're actually doing this. So this is actually quite powerful. We really recommend this if you're going to be doing like conditional checks or formats based off of the values of keys. So this is like the heavy lifting equipment. And scripting of Lua is great. And then we also have, as of, let me see if it's actually linked in here, functions. Functions are just an extension of, trying to find it, if it's even like, no, it's not linked here. But basically functions are, as of Redis 7, available. So you can actually write and load functions and just actually call them from the command line or from your client. And they'll perform similar tasks. So yeah, those are 4 different methods of preserving atomic operations. But to answer your question, if your server is getting hit by multiple clients, then your consecutive operations will not be atomic. So for your sorted set ZAD, if you want to do it multiple, then you do multi-exec with transactions. Hope that makes sense. A lot of explanation, but there's a lot of different finer nuances. And I would definitely check out pipelining transactions and Lua scripting to really just. Transactions has a great write-up in our Redis IO page, like I showed you up there. And it's definitely a good read. And it's not hard to understand. Really good examples.
I was about to say, I finally went through, but if you're watching on YouTube, you might have a couple of things that take a little while longer. I noticed all of those links that we sent out about pipelining and transactions went out about 4 minutes earlier on Twitch than they took to get to YouTube. So just so you know, if you're watching on YouTube, there might be some comments from us that are a little bit delayed from what we're talking about.
Yeah,
and that's a YouTube issue, not an us issue. We got a little notification at the beginning that was like, YouTube is having some issues that might cause some streams to buffer.
They're not using Redis.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to add to pipelining and transactions was it's worth checking how those work in the language that you're coding in, because some clients do them differently to others, but most of the big clients have that fully documented.
Yeah. And like Justin said, there's all different ways you could do this. And we have dropped the links into the chat should you wish to have a look at the documentation. But also, if you've read that and you've got further questions, feel free to join us on Discord, discord.gg/Redis. Come and have a chat with us. And these particular commands always bring me back to the age-old question. And I would like to pose it to those of you good people who are watching. I can see there's a good few people watching the streams here on YouTube and Twitch. Please tell me in the chat, is it Z-add or is it Z-add? I really want to know. Zad. Actually, that is universal, right? So please tell me which one you vote for. Let me know in the chat which one of those you like the best. And then maybe we can formalize that here on the stream, but probably don't want to tell the maintainers because yeah, we just you keep that as a stream thing. Cool. So let's look at the next question. I just throw that back onto the screen, and I'm coming to Justin again. So this is all about sorted sets. Hey guys, okay, I forgive you for calling us all guys. We're not all guys on the team. What are some of the tricks I can use to delete members of a sorted set by date? The items in the sorted set are sorted by a numerical number value. However, as the list gets larger, I would like to delete items from the list that are, for example, 3 days old. But I can't do this because I used a number to sort the set and not a date. Are there any tricks I can use? And here I'm just going to remind everybody that if your question is featured on this stream, we will redact. So don't worry about us showing the whole world that it was you who asked the question. However, if you want your name attached, we will happily leave it on. But this is a really good question because I think for me, it shows something that I say on these streams a lot. It's a lot of the time, it's about thinking what you actually want to achieve rather than the commands. So break down the problem. And soon the answer will become clear, but I'm going to let Justin talk you through this one.
Cool, thank you. So yeah, what do we have here? We have a sorted set that is using a numerical number value as a score. So that's very, very common. That's perfectly fine. That's great. And that's what you're supposed to do. However, there is a desire to actually remove older members via date. So the date is not what we're using for the score. We're using a number as the score. So there's nothing stopping us from creating a separate sorted set that is the exact same member, but instead of a numerical score, we're using the score as a date. It could be like Unix timestamps and things like that. And so you're going to have 2 sorted sets, the original plus 1 that's scored by date. Now you can run zrem range by score, and that does what it sounds like it's going to do. It's going to remove all members based off of a range of score values. So basically 3 days old, starting at 3 days old, probably to infinity. And I'll remove them. So you do that first, and you remove all of those members from your dated sorted set. And then you run the command zunion store, and that runs a union on those 2 sorted sets. Now, what is a union? It takes all the elements or all the members from this sorted set. It takes all the members of this sorted set and it combines them, and it only gives us a sorted set that both sorted sets have, of members that both have. So what that does is, because all of the dated sorted set members are 3 days or newer, and since we've got rid of some, that's going to superimpose on your sorted set by numbers, and it's only going to retain the members that are in the dated sorted set. I hope that makes sense. I don't have any visual aids, but basically it's kind of like a union puts together both sorted sets and figures out which one they both share. So your numerical sorted set is going to have older ones, but as soon as you call Z union store, it's going to return a new sorted set that's going to only have the newer dated members. And this is it's a very Redis method of actually achieving this, because there's nothing stopping you from creating another key or another sorted set that has pretty much the exact same data in it. You just are scoring it differently. And this is very, I know, I love this question. Steve answered this question. I really enjoyed his solution. It was very elegant. And we're just sort of including this instead of just creating a dated sorted set. We're calling Z union store. Now there's Z union, which will it'll output a sorted set, but it won't store it at a key. So that might be what you want to use, but Z union store creates a new key that is the product of the union of those two sorted sets. So that's pretty cool. That's a really good question. And I do believe that happens a lot when you want to call keys based off a date, but you're not using the date as a score for sorted sets. So that was a good question. That was a really good one.
Yeah, I think another sort of learning point from this is we get these sorts of questions a lot around things because people think that with the Redis data structures that have different name value pairs in them, so like the hash and the sorted set, you can expire individual things. And expiry in Redis works at a key level. So a sorted set is a single key. You can expire the whole thing, but not a single member. So you do have to do these other methods of doing that, which it's not built into the product, but there's the flexibility to simulate it, as Justin showed.
Cool. Thanks for that, folks. And you might have noticed from the accents, me and Simon both live in England. And I don't know what happened to the sun. It just suddenly disappeared. So we're sitting here in the dark, like, where is everybody? So, yeah, sorry if you can't see me that well, but Mother Nature took the sun away very abruptly there. And I don't know why, because it was a blazing sunshine about 5 minutes ago. And yeah, that question had other Z and Zs in. I still want to know whether you think it's Z add, Z add, or Zad, or any other different way you want to say it. I'm really interested to know about that. And if you want to know more about sorted sets and you want to hear it explained in a way that folks who are very new to Redis will understand, then check out my and Justin's live streams from a year ago on YouTube, RU101 Live, where I took the RU101, so that's Redis University 101 Introduction to Data Structures course a year ago, just after I joined the company, and Justin kindly tutored me throughout that course, and we had some very good discussions about sorted sets and all the other main data structures in Redis. So yeah, that was just as an aside. Let me share my screen again. I'm going to throw it over to Savannah this time. Hello, Redis Stream users. Now, I like that greeting. They're not assuming anything about anybody, are they? Hello, Redis Stream users. I'm curious to know what strategy do you guys use to delete or trim data from stream for saving memory and reduce AOF/RDB file size? So, Savannah, give us your take on that, please.
Yeah, so there are basically two easy main ways that we sort of like support trimming streams. One thing to note is that like the only actual limit on the length of your stream is how much data you have in RAM for the database to be running. So like you can add to it for as long as you want until it's basically like you don't have enough memory to add that thing. So you can use the xtrim command, which does exactly what it sounds like. It will trim your stream. A couple of different options for that on like how you trim your stream. But that xtrim command has like a max length, and you can just say, I want to trim it to 10,000. You can also, in the xadd command, include that max length argument so that you only add, so that like as you're adding to, we'll say the top of your stream, the bottom of your stream gets trimmed as you add to it. Now, one thing to note is that trimming to that exact length is kind of expensive because you basically have to sort of like run through your stream to figure out how long, like what the 10,000th item is. But what you can do is use the tilde. If you don't know what that is, it's like the little single squiggle. It's like the almost equals. So that command will give you roughly your max length. And that will be like a massive, not massive necessarily, but that'll save you time and it'll save you space. So yeah, that one's a pretty fun, easy, straightforward. You can trim as you add, or you can just chop off your stream at a certain spot.
Nice.
Yeah, again, that's another example where people may think that you can expire individual stream entries with time to live, but a stream's a single key. And the other one that I tell people every single time I do streams is there are commands for reading streams, and we call those like consumer commands. So you kind of imply it's like food. You know, when you consume something, it's gone. That's not the case with streams.
It's not. Yeah.
You can read it and it doesn't change the state of it. So you do have to have some sort of explicit management strategy to avoid overrunning data structure.
Yeah. You can explicitly also delete like a single entry in your stream, but that's more for like, you want like this one entry that you know the key or an ID for gone. But in general, if we're just talking like for saving memory, you're just going to want to like chop off that bottom part of your stream that's old and likely already consumed. There are some things you could probably do there as far as seeing like what the oldest unacknowledged ID is and using that to trim your stream. But that gets into a couple of different network calls. And, you know, if you know that you're consuming your stream at like a relatively solid pace and you know that you only need a certain number in there, that xtrim to about a certain length is probably your best bet.
Yeah, the other strategy that we look at in the Redis University Streams course is because stream data is kind of time based and the entries are timestamps by default, we look at, you could maintain things, for example, you maintain a 24-hour data stream where the key name's got the date in. So like today would be 2022-09-23. And then you expire that whole thing like a week later or whatever. So you have like a rolling set of 7 streams. But then you have to put application logic in to know what the key name is for a given, or what key names. We have an example of that in the course, which is another way you can do this if you need to store a lot of things for a while, but you know when you're going to be done with them.
Yeah. So Methalich asked, good to see you. Thanks for always tuning in. Keyspace event notification for stream trimming, auto trimming during xadd. So auto trimming during xadd, like you can just add that max length command. I believe you can also use, I don't want to say it if it's not true. I think you can use some of those other arguments during the xadd, but I am not positive. Maybe not.
Yeah, so I totally didn't know this, so I just read the documentation. It says xadd generates an xadd event, possibly followed by an xtrim event when used with the max length subcommand. And I guess that's slightly old documentation. So the min ID strategy was introduced with Redis 6.2, so I would guess that applies to that too. So you get 2 events, so you wouldn't necessarily know it was explicitly done during an xadd, but you get told it happened, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess that's a fingers crossed. We sort of are assuming that that documentation didn't get updated to include like the min ID stuff, but because it says that it's an xtrim event, it's likely that you can do that as well.
Cool. Yeah, when in doubt, check out the documentation. And I just realised that, well, it was funny when Simon said he didn't know to check the documentation. We all have to do that. So, please do not worry. It's not a sign of weakness if you need to check the docs. Everybody has to do it. But then I realised, because we're all sharing our screens, but you can't see them because we haven't promoted them to the main screen. But I can see what everybody's looking at, and I can see people scrolling through the dots. I was like, oh, yeah. That makes me feel good. But I can also see if they're like watching some other video or some other show while we're supposed to be on air. So that's another thing. That's a whole other topic. But yes.
Sort of like how when I walked away from my computer, I was like, don't forget, I can still hear you.
Yeah, Savannah informed us that the Bluetooth headphones were definitely working at that point. And we could hear her. So the mic was also working. Cool. So the fourth and final question then, this is going to go to Simon Prickett, and it is about our RU 102 course. RU 102 is Reddit's for insert your favorite language developers. So we've got Java, JavaScript, .NET, and Python. So if one of those is your favorite language, or even your second favorite language, go to university.redis.com and check out RU 102. It's going to be 102J, 102JS, 102PY, or 102. What's the .NET one? There's only 3. Okay, sorry, 3 then. So this question relates to somebody who took RU 102J, so Java. It equally applies to the other 2 courses. So they said, hi, while looking at week 3, challenge number 5, I realized that while we're storing all the site info at sites:info site ID key, we are updating capacity at different key sites:capacity ranking. Doesn't this lead to data inconsistency? For example, if I want to get complete info about a site, just making a get call to the sites:info site ID key won't be returning up-to-date info about site like capacity. Then I would have to make a separate get call to get up to capacity for that site. So Simon, what do you think about that one?
Okay, I think we're going to have to do a little bit of background on this. If you're not familiar with what the course is, the question doesn't necessarily, it needs a bit more context. So I will share this, and here we go. So this is RU 102J Redis for Java Developers course. As Sue says, this course is also available for Python and JavaScript, by which we mean Node developers. The question's equally applicable to all of those courses, because the course is like the same materials, the same problem space, and the same challenges. So you build the same application in each of the 3 different languages. So what were they talking about? So the application that you build in this course is a solar panel tracking application. So imagine you're a company that installs solar panels on residential or industrial buildings, doesn't really matter what type of building. And you're based in the Bay Area, so you've installed them in all of these buildings that you see here on the map. And what we're doing is each of those buildings is called a site, and we track a number of things about the site. So it's location, so we can use Redis Geo to plot it here. We track its physical address, it has a site ID and a number, and then it has some information about what we call capacity, which is, imagine there's solar panels on the roof of the site. If we are generating more capacity, or we're generating more solar electricity than the site uses, so than it takes from its own solar panels, we have what's called excess capacity. So we have like a positive number. And if we're generating less than that, as in we're not able to cover our own usage and we're having to pull some power from the grid, we're saying we're generating a negative capacity. So we're still like a net drain on the grid. And the way that these courses work is you write bits of code that sit in data access objects that interact with Redis to get the data out of Redis or put the data into Redis and prepare it for an API that talks to this front end, which displays different things. So the question was largely about, there's a capacity report on here, and we have capacity data in a couple of places. So if we go and look at the actual programming challenge here, again, the details of this, you kind of need to get into the course to understand it properly. But we're implementing some code that if we ask the API, give me all of the solar sites within a certain radius of a lat long and which have excess capacity, so that capacity number is positive, as in, you know, they're contributing to the grid rather than taking from it. You have to look in a few data structures for Redis for that. And the question was basically why, and why is that not a single data structure? And to answer that, what I've done is I've loaded up the course data into Redis Insight here, and I'll just see if we can make that a teeny bit bigger without messing with the interface too much. So I've loaded up the course data into Redis Insight, which is a data visualization tool. And what we're doing is for each location, so each solar site, we're storing that data in a Redis hash, which is like a flat map of field value pairs that lives at a single key. So here, this is the site with ID 21. We can see it's 2375 Wisteria Street in Castro Valley, California. And the question was, it has this capacity figure here. So the latest capacity figure we've got from this site's solar panels is +3. So that's good. It's generating more than it's using. And in order to make a capacity report of which are our best and worst performing sites at this time, we could get this data out of all of these hashes and then do some sort of sort on them. And the question was, why do we have two data structures for that, and does it take twice as long to access? So we also have this sorted set down here. So something we've talked about already on this stream, which is a capacity ranking set. And if I click on this, you'll see Redis Insight visualizes it quite nicely for me. This is a data structure that's kept in a sorted order. So as these numbers update, we update both the hash and we update the sorted set. And here the members are the site IDs. So if site 24 updated, I'd update app sites capacity ranking sorted set and set 24's score to whatever its new thing is. They're actually performing really poorly. They're drawing a lot from the grid and not contributing. And if I then need to update the hash as well, which I do because we're keeping this in two places, because sometimes when we just want to look at the site info, it's faster to get everything out of the hash. Then I just do a hset and update that field. And the question was, does this take twice as long? And the answer is not really, because we would pipeline those commands to Redis and get both of those things back in one round trip. So to make an API call that returns, you know, get me the top 10 performing sites, we might do something like, let's flip this over. So site 110 is our most performance site, followed by 174, 108, and so on. So we would basically take a slice through this sorted set, get the top 10, get those member numbers, and then send Redis a pipeline with 10 commands that just says get all, or just the fields that we need from the hash for each of those sites. So generally, the sort of point here is that with NoSQL data modeling, sometimes it is okay to duplicate things, and especially with Redis, where you don't have like just a table like in some databases. We have data structures, so the sorted set is optimized for sorting. It's really good at that, and the hash is optimized for looking like an object. So sorting hashes would be more expensive than just duplicating a little bit of data in this case. And as ever, can we provide hard and fast rules for this? Kind of not really. There's a lot of try it and see what works for your application use case. So it depends if you're optimized for reads versus writes versus which bit of the data you need a lot.
Cool. Anyone want to add anything to that?
No, I think Simon summed it up beautifully.
As per usual.
Yeah, if you like this course and you want to try solving that problem, we have it in Java, JavaScript, and Python. If you're just interested in looking at the solutions to these problems, because they're not graded as part of the course, you know, we're not going to grade your coding. The way that we check that you've done it correctly is we provide tests that fail when you start with the code base, and then when you've changed your code, hopefully the tests pass if you've got the right answer. there's also a solutions branch in each of the course repos. So if you just want to see our answers, then they're right there. And it's not, the coding is not part of the assessment of the course. If you've taken one of our courses, we use multiple choice questions to assess you, and the coding courses are just the same.
Yeah, and that is a really nice little project for that course. It's quite an interesting use case, isn't it? The solar energy data collection.
Yeah, and also we provide all of the front end. It's actually Vue, but it's pre-built. You don't need to touch that. We provide the skeleton of an application. So for Python, it's I think it's Flask. For Node, it's Express, and I forget what it is for Java, but it's another common API front. You don't need to know any of those things. So you're basically coding against the Redis client, and you can learn about the rest of the application, but you don't need to understand that or be proficient with it to be successful.
Yeah, you don't need to know how to create a website or anything like that. All of that good stuff's already done for you. And if you are a complete beginner to Redis and you're thinking, I really don't want to dive into a language-specific course, then do check out RU 101, which is Introduction to Redis Data Structures. And again, you don't need to do a huge amount of coding in there. You just need to be able to read and understand. But if you still feel like that sounds a bit too scary, then check out the videos of me and Justin doing it, and we will show you exactly what it looks like, because we don't keep any of that a secret here. We're very open as to what the courses are like, because we want to encourage everybody to try them. And like, even if you asked us the answer to the homework, we'll probably tell you. In fact, you will find a lot of homework answers in the videos of me and Justin from last year. So if that is not enough incentive to go back and check those videos, I don't know what is. And if you've done loads of courses and you want a new one, we do have a brand new one. Justin, do you want to tell us about our very brand new course?
Yeah, Simon and I worked on RU 204, querying, indexing, and searching and JSON documents at speed. So basically, we get up and running with the newest version of JSON within Redis Stack, which uses JSON path extensions, which is very powerful. And it's just an awesome way of traversing through JSON and capturing all the data you want. And we also cover how to integrate search with JSON. So how to create indexes with search, and what fields to look for, how to look for them efficiently, and how to kind of model your data. And we also cover, excuse me, our 4 different clients: Redis Ohm for .NET, Java Spring, Python, and JavaScript, with some examples on how to use those and how to integrate that into your applications. So it's a pretty interesting, cool course that covers quite a few topics, but it'll get you up to date and up to speed with our JSON and search offerings through Redis Stack.
And what is really cool, what I always think is really nice, is whenever you release something new, there are always, like, people who love Redis really love Redis. And so there are always people who are on it straight away. And so for that first cohort that we only opened up in, was it the last week of August?
August 3rd, I think. August
yeah.
2nd.
Somewhere around that.
Yeah.
The time's gone quick, hasn't it? So it was only a few weeks ago, and there were people that took that course straight away because they wanted to be the first ones to do it. So and if you do take the course, it's a little bit different from the previous ones that we've done, and so we would really love to hear your feedback as well as to how well you enjoyed that compared to the other ones. So join us in Discord and let us know about that. If you are taking a course or you're thinking about it and you want to discuss it with us, come to Discord and type a question to us, or join us on Thursdays. If you go on Discord, you'll see a little events panel in the top left. You can join us on Thursdays. So the 4 of us that are here on this stream will be live in Discord to answer any and all of your Redis University questions live. Feel free to come and chat with us, because the streams are good and everything, and you can chat to us in the chat here on the stream, but it's not really a two-way conversation, is it? But yeah, if you want to have a two-way conversation with us, you can join us on Discord on a Thursday. To us in the UK, Thursday afternoon, depending on where you are. It's about 3 o'clock UTC, I think. So yeah, do that. The last thing I want to mention is it's the end of September. And you know what that means? Soon going to be October, which you know what that means. If you're a developer, Hacktoberfest is coming. I'm wearing my Hacktoberfest t-shirt from 2 years ago. This poor thing is stretched because I'm always showing people it online. So we here at Redis are going to be throwing out some issues for all of you good people to come and contribute to in October. So keep an eye out for that. We're getting our landing page ready as we speak. We will plug that as soon as we have the URL ready and all the issues. But yeah, feel free to come and contribute to those because we had a really good response last year. And a lot of the people who contributed had never used Redis before, which may surprise you. But yeah, a lot of folks had never used Redis before. They came and read the READMEs, got up and running with it, and they were like, wow, this is really easy to use. So yeah, please do think about doing that with us this year, and we will have more details in the weeks to come. So has anyone else got anything they want to add before we say goodbye?
I think just with the courses, you can literally ask us anything on Discord about those. They have their own channels. We don't mind if you ask questions about the graded homework or final exams. There's some really nice spoiler functionality on Discord if you want to use it that will blank out your question or the bits that are sort of secret, and then once someone clicks it, they can see it. So if you don't want to if you want to ask a question about an exam and you think it might prejudice other people, just look up the spoiler functionality and use it. But by all means, please ask the questions. We would prefer that you did, rather than sort of sit there scratching your head and not be able to move forward.
Yeah, definitely. There is no such thing as a stupid question at all. And I know all of your teachers have told you this and you didn't believe any of them, but it's true. There is no such thing as a stupid question. So come along and ask, because chances are if you're asking it, then hundreds of other people were wondering the same thing. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining me today. Thanks, Savannah, Simon, and Justin for keeping me company on this stream. Again, thanks for bearing with me while I totally messed it up. And yeah, we will be back again next week. So look after yourselves, everyone, and we will see you again soon. Bye.
Yeah, and stay tuned for Guy's live stream here in about 13 minutes. Guy will be doing some stuff with Redis. He's going to be building Redis mud. I don't even know what that is, so I'm going to be tuning in to find out.
Yeah, it's not Z mud, it's not Z mud, it's just mud. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.
See ya.
Bye.